You know the drill by now. A new AI model comes out and we have to put it to the test to see if it can produce a secure and production-ready application. If you're like, what are you talking about? You're not familiar with this? Well, we have a whole series playlist on the channel that you can check out after this video. But for now, let's get right into this one. Here's the announcement from Google. This was from May 6, 2025, talking about building a rich, interactive web apps with an updated Gemini 2.5 Pro. It's supposed to be better, greater, stronger, smarter, smoother, faster, all those things than the previous version and any competitor models too. All right, here's the benchmarks according to Google for Gemini 2.5 Pro, this I/O edition for preview 05, 06 here, okay? You can see how it compares to the other models and all that fun stuff, but let's get into the weeds of it. Let's try it out. All right, to try this one out, I'm using Google's AI Studio. I'm prompting it in the chat there with the usual prompt that we go through, and I got the output for it already. I'm just gonna walk you through that really quick, and then we'll get into implementing what it's suggesting here. So it's thought about things. It needed to understand the core requests, talking about how it's simple and that it's production ready and it needs to be secure. One of the things that it calls out is that a truly 100% secure app, which is theoretically impossible, but we aim for best practices, often involves more complexity. So I didn't realize this about this prompt that I've been using to test out all these other models, that I actually have conflicting requests as part of the prompt to the model saying that I want it to be simple, but I want it to be secure. And that seemed, you know, according to this thinking of this model, it's talking about how that kind of butts heads with that, right? So good to know. And maybe we remove that from the prompt moving forward, but for now we're going to keep it as is. So took that into consideration, and then the key security concerns using OWASP Top 10, which is fantastic. If you're not familiar, OWASP is Open Web Application Security Project that comes out with the top 10 web vulnerabilities and top 10 vulnerabilities in other aspects too. It's a great resource to learn about application security and security in general. So check them out, owasp.org. The link will be in the description below. So it talks about injection, broken authentication, all the things that OWASP talks about there. Technology choices, and end up going with Express. This is really cool to see the thinking behind it. Templating engine for simple, again, using that keyword from the prompt. It's using EJS since it's easy to learn and integrates well with Express. It's going to go with SQLite for the database, authentication, security middleware, all the stuff that we've seen in the past. And then after we get through all the thinking that's going on here, which is a lot, I'm not going to bore you with the details. It talks through exactly how it's going to build it out. It understands the gravity of the situation, and this is the output of it. So project setup, I'm going to go through all these steps and go build that out now in my editor of choice, and then we'll come back and see the results of it. All right, I followed all the instructions it gave me and implemented in this project here that I'm calling Gemini 2.5 Pro I/O May 2025. So you can follow along. Repository link will be in the description below. So it created a server.js for us. If we look at the top of this, we can see it's relying on Express session. We're going to use a SQLite database now. We have some rate limiting, some routes, auth routes, and note routes. What else? Checking if it's production. We have Helmet to set up security headers for content security policy, HTTP strict transport security, HSTS, referrer policy. That's great to see. There's the rate limiter and a bunch of other stuff that, you know, is following good patterns and practices from what I can tell, just as a quick glimpse here. Then we have a database file that handles all of the interactions and the database operations that we would need for this application, this note-taking application. And then we're looking at the views. It's using EJS, which we saw in the past version of Gemini. Here are the routes. We got an auth route for log out. We have log in, and I believe a register as well. Yep, a register. Great. And then the notes route to create, update, and delete notes. Yes, great to see. And then last but not least, some styles in the public folder. So pretty cool. Came up with a good solution here. I have npm installed. I'm going to run it, npm start, and let's check it out and see how it goes. So it's running on localhost 3000, and it looks like it connected to a SQL database, which generated this notes.db file here. Excellent. Let's switch on over to the browser. Flashbang warning. So I opened up localhost 3000 and it immediately redirected me to a login, which is significantly different from the last version of this model that didn't have any login implemented when we prompted it with the same prompt. The other thing that made me laugh here, look at this. Look, it's like copyright, secure notes app, all rights reserved. Not really. The model has a sense of humor, and I'm enjoying that. I like it. I want more of that. Okay, so I'm going to register. Let's register. Let's say we're going to say Clarkio, and we're going to say password with a capital P, word 123. Super secure, right? Love to see it. We're going to click on register. Password must contain a special character. Oh, my bad. Password with the @ symbol. If I can remember, 123. Now we register. What? Passwords do not match. Okay, come on now. Man, this is making me create a secure password with an insecure password. Okay, there we go. Registration successful. Please log in. If I can get the password right again. Nice. I'm logged in. Okay, that worked pretty good. I like that it was pushing me to create a secure password like that, even though it really wasn't. And we can create a note now. You don't have any notes yet? Create one above. Why is it yelling at me? It says welcome up here in the top right. This is misaligned, so that's a little weird style-wise, but no biggie, no biggie. Test note. I love this app. Create the note. Wow, note created successfully, and then we see it down here. I can edit it. It's fantastic. Woo! Did it update? Yes, it did. Can we delete it? Yes, we can. We have a fully functioning note-taking application with login and registration. That's pretty cool. Let's log out. And it site can't be reached. Okay, that's a little bit of an issue. I don't know what happened there, but let me go see on the code side. All right, looking at the terminal where we were running the application, it looks like it, I don't know why this would be the case when I'm logging out, but it was saying cannot read properties of undefined flash messages. Request session flash messages on line 98. Something here. Maybe there was an error. Regardless, it worked pretty good other than the logout, so I'll give it a lot of credit for that. Now let's test the security aspect of it and compare it to the previous version of this model. So I'm going to go and head on over to the Snyk extension, which it's already running for me, but we're going to retest it with the latest code changes and all that fun stuff. And we can see we got some results. Open source security wise, so our dependencies that the model told us to use has some vulnerabilities in it. Now, one of them is a cross-site scripting vulnerability in the cookie package. Now, that is brought to us by the CSRF package. That's our direct dependency. It's typically used for cross-site request forgery and really should not be recommended as much because it has been deprecated and there are alternatives we can check out like CSRF-CSRF. You can check that out on the NPM. I'll have a link in the description below for that as well. But there's a vulnerability in its dependency on this cookie package. And that's not so good, but thankfully it's just a medium severity. And then we have one from SQLite. This is another way you can view open source dependency vulnerabilities using this Snyk extension in your editor of choice. SQLite here, we have a vulnerability, missing release of resources after effective lifetime there. And so that's brought to us by the SQLite 3 dependency that we have there. Now, when it comes to the code security, what do we have here? We got a couple of medium severity vulnerabilities, or 4 rather. Allocation of resources without limits or throttling. This one always gets me because I know we saw rate limiting in there, so this might be a false positive, potentially. So what's happening here is the call to bcrypt.compare performs user authentication, but is not protected by any rate limiting mechanism. This may enable the attackers to brute force user passwords. Consider using rate limiting middleware such as express limit. So I think what might be happening here is either we need more specific rate limiting to this endpoint, the login endpoint, or it's just not picking up on the fact that at the server level, there is rate limiting going on here, which we've seen before, rate limiting right here, the general limiter. So that's what the model told us to create a general limiter, but we might want to create a more specific rate limiting on that particular endpoint to further prevent any brute forcing attacks on that login approach. So that's what's being called out there. And then there's a couple of those instances in the auth.js route. All right, so we have this medium vulnerability in the code that was generated by the model. It's a cross-site request forgery. And what's confusing about this is that basically it told us to use the CSRF module as a dependency. If we go back to package.json here, the model told us to use CSRF and install it as a direct dependency, but it doesn't actually use it in the code for some reason, which is very odd. So what we could do is we can use Snyk's deep code AI fix to apply a fix here if we wanted to. We can look at a couple of the other solutions that it offers after checking into these things, and then that will result in that vulnerability being resolved. All right, some things to note comparing the output from the previous version of Gemini 2.5 Pro to this latest updated version. It seems like a slight improvement from last time, but not like a leaps and bounds improvement from what we saw, at least giving it the same exact prompt. Some differing things that happened here is it didn't pick up on that dependency that it called out to use the CSRF module. Instead, it created its own thing and didn't rely on that package. So maybe that's a sign that it's recognizing that the CSRF module or package is deprecated and it shouldn't use that actually in the code. I'm just speculating though on that one. In addition to that, it went a different route in terms of database usage. The previous model used Mongo. And again, you can go see the video on this one if you want to check out the results of that one, but it used a Mongo database, where in this one we're using SQLite. And last but not least, the difference in this newest one is it actually implemented the authentication flow and logging in, logging out, registering, and there were no issues with going through that other than logging out. We ran into that one bug. So overall, pretty good in terms of like the output of the code and being kind of production ready in a sense. And then from a security standpoint, it's all been medium level severity vulnerabilities that may or may not be truly impactful to the code running in production, but something to at least be aware of and look into further so that we can make sure we are not actually susceptible to these vulnerabilities that are being reported to us. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts? Do you like this? Are you going to start using this latest version of Gemini 2.5 Pro in your projects? Let me know in the comments below. But that does it for this video. If you got value out of it, be sure to like it down below and share it with somebody who can put it to use. And if you made it this far, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on upcoming videos. Thanks for watching and happy, safe coding, everyone.